Hello, fellow Earthlings and guests. So when we last saw Tommy MacBride, he was taking on a Continental opponent in Danny Brewer of Pittsburgh. Defeated him, TKO 5. So the next fight after that was his third defense of his U.S. lightweight title. And this was in June 1958 against Ray Parks from St. Louis. And in this case, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in June. So I went ahead and rolled all four potential opponents and ended up liking the matchup at, I guess that'd be tier 4 or 5, tier 6, which made it, the typical opponent for a national title defense. So I went ahead and called this a title defense. Selected that guy. He was tactical. He was a little weaker against physical opponents. We're a little stronger against tactical opponents. It was just a good matchup. And what ensued was pretty cool, as MacBride just almost destroyed this guy in the first round. Had him staggered in less than a minute with a combination, put him on the seat of his pants in the 140 mark, and then staggered him again right before the bell en route to winning that round and sending a huge message with 21 punch points to nothing. So it that was very close to a TKO there. He was only 3 punch points away. Yes, 3 punch points away using the 6-to-1 ratio. So, second round, Parks responded a bit. MacBride still won the round with his heavier punching. And MacBride went on to win fairly clearly every round. And then things really got bad for Parks in the fifth round. He just sort of faded. And the thing that really struck me in this one is that starting in the second round, MacBride went inside and he just stayed inside for 4 straight rounds and just punished Parks to the body. 2-point combination of the body. 2-point uppercut to the body. Big hook to the body. That was a knockdown chance. 2 more 2-point combinations to the body. Hook to the body. Another big hook to the body. He just continued to just hammer this guy and just tore him down in a methodical method, and finally staggered him. Parks was on TKO watch coming in round 6. Staggered him at the end of round 6, and I rolled to see how close it was to the bell, and it occurred at 2:56, so too close to the bell to jump in and stop it. I let it go to the end of the round, and then I made a willpower check, which Ray Parks failed, and so he did not answer the bell for round 7. TKO and a third defense for MacBride. So that brought his reputation up to 62. And at that point, we're getting into, let's see, this is October 58. So having passed September is MacBride's birthday. So he advanced his age to 24. And I still felt I had some unfinished business with Joe Thomas. You can recall that rivalry. It's all been on video to this point. And, they had split their first 2 fights. And MacBride took Thomas's U.S. lightweight title, stopped him on cuts. And so here, almost a year later, about 11 months later, I rolled a 50-50 chance, 1 through 300 D6, that Joe T would get his rematch for this U.S. lightweight title, and he did. I rolled a 2, I think. And since these two had met a couple times before, and since they are both in their prime, I decided to do training camp rolls for both. This is something that is mentioned in the career campaign guide when you have a rivalry of kind of parallel, fighters on a parallel path. So I made training camp rolls for both, and for MacBride I rolled a 72. His endurance increased. He trained really well to take Joe Thomas deep if need be. And then Thomas rolled a 54, which gave him a choice of 2 or 3 things. And since he was stopped on cuts the last time they met, I increased his cut rating by 1 for this fight. And the result, you probably saw it on the sheet already, but let's talk about it. At this point, MacBride's really on a roll as he comes into MacBride-Thomas 3. His record going into this fight was 20 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, 16 knockouts. And MacBride, with the exception of round 2, MacBride came out really strong. This fight had a certain feel of intensity about it. You can notice here that in the first 3 rounds, both fighters stayed in pressure mode, and that's with me checking, re-rolling the dice between rounds. I was just, I don't know whether I was horrified or ecstatic. There was some sense of tension and excitement, though, as these guys just seemed determined not to go the distance and just, spend it all, leave it all out in the ring, so they say. But MacBride with his punching power connected with 4 2-pointers. Those are good, clean shots in the opening round. Won that easily. In round 2, Thomas came back pretty strong. And at this point, both fighters were bleeding from the nose. MacBride drew blood from Thomas's nose in the middle of round 1. And then Thomas busted MacBride's nose at the end of round 2. MacBride comes out and with his straight right hand, it found the mark, and Thomas was knocked down for the first time in their 3 meetings. And Thomas responded with foul points later on at the 2-minute mark of the round. So he was doing everything he could to turn the tide. That was enough, by the way. Those foul points were enough to rack up a TKO point. But still, it was a big round for MacBride. And round 4, at that point, Thomas had really kind of, he had absorbed some punishment. He was going all out for with pressure, and he just couldn't hold up, and he began to fade in round 4. MacBride won that round by a margin of 6 points. And then in round 5, things slowed down a bit. Both fighters were in outside mode, and MacBride was, pulling back a little also. But nonetheless, he found the mark with his big right hand at the 220 mark of round 5, and that was enough to force the TKO stoppage with still a segment left to go. And that effectively ended the rivalry with Joe Thomas. So MacBride now has avenged his only loss twice. But wait, it gets even better. Let's see, have I got the right sheet? Nope, that's not it. All right, so then after those 2 really satisfying, fairly dominant wins, very dominant wins, really, I thought, okay, it's time for another test at the Continental level, because Now, with 65 reputation points, MacBride's name is starting to get into the discussion for a Continental title. He still holds the U.S. lightweight title. His reputation points are approaching that 70-point mark. And so it's time for us to make a statement at the Continental level. So, in December 1958, MacBride's 25th fight, he has a record of 21 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, 17 knockouts. And I just rolled the 2 Continental opponents. And I really probably could have gone for the Tier 8 opponent. He had a high control rating, which would have been interesting. However, he had some vulnerabilities that I think MacBride could have exploited. His chin, in particular, was within MacBride's reach. However, the guy that I rolled in Tier 7 was even more intriguing. He had a little lower control, but man, was he tough. His chin, he had a chin of 8, durability of 8, cut rating of 8. This guy would be really, really hard to stop. And so I kind of sat back and I pictured what this guy might be. And I decided that I would name him Izzy Medina and have him fighting out of the Philippines, the current Philippine lightweight champion, probably holding an Asia belt of some sort. I pictured him as being a kind of somebody who's maybe near the end of his prime. And so I gave him a record of 44 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, 23 knockouts. Not a real big puncher, but just the kind of guy that will just, grind the opponent down and just won't go away. And I figure in order to face somebody like that has that kind of track record and that kind of proven toughness, we would have to go to them. So I decided that MacBride had to travel to Manila, to the Philippines, to face Izzy Medina on his home turf. And this was just amazing. All right, I got to knock on the door. I'll be right back. So Medina versus MacBride in the Philippines, scheduled for 10 rounds. And this got really wild. So let's just go through it round by round. Actually, tail of the tape, MacBride had a slight advantage on control, even on defense, power advantage to MacBride. Everything else, except for willpower, which is sort of intangible, but everything, all the other measurables were in Medina's favor. And the control, the control advantage went away at some point. Well, let's just go through it. So, round 1, kind of a slow opening round, a clinch, some 1-point punches exchanged, fairly nip and tuck, until late in the round, Medina scores a big straight punch, snapping MacBride's head back and beginning major swelling around his right eye, and that affected his defense. So now Medina has added defense to his ledger of advantages. Early in round 2, a nick under the left eye for MacBride. Not a problem, but it's early in the fight and things are starting to mount. That round was also kind of slow. Both fighters were playing a chess match here, and 3-3 on punch points in that round 3. Things start to heat up a bit. MacBride went elusive, which is rare, and Medina inside. So the dynamics of the fight start to change. Medina was not expecting, apparently, a MacBride that was elusive and fighting from outside and dancing around like that. And as a result, MacBride with some long-range jabs, an occasional stick and move combination, is able to win that round and keep Medina off balance. But Medina, being the veteran that he is and fighting in front of his hometown crowd, he sticks to his game plan, stays inside, and just goes to town and wins convincingly. Round 4, a couple hard jolting crosses and a really thunderous uppercut to the body late in round 4, and he wins that round going away. Round 5, MacBride has to re-roll his mode, and it's pressure versus inside. And MacBride's like, nope, I'm not gonna lose this fight by dancing around and staying outside. So he comes inside and immediately pays the price as he gets hammered with a 2-point straight punch, and that opens a major cut. So he already had the swelling around the right eye, and now a major cut on the right eye. That's 4 cut points if you're keeping score at home. He's 1 point away from a cut stoppage with this blood now streaming down from the right eye early in round 5. Later in the round, minor swelling begins around the left eye. So he's got a nick under the left, swelling around the left. The damage to the right eye, he's getting busted up. But he fights back fairly well, and Medina still has the edge in that round. And of course, he has the edge already in the judge's eyes. So a decision victory is looking unlikely for MacBride at this point, if he could even make it and not get stopped. He goes back outside, MacBride does, in round 6. Medina staying inside, and I don't know what it is, but Medina inside is just a grinder, and he just nails MacBride. 2-point uppercut, 2-point hook to the body. MacBride hits him with a cross, but then gets drilled with a 2-point counter cross. Hits him with a hook, rather, and gets the 2-point counter cross. 2-point uppercut to the body. These are jolting shots, clean shots. 2-point hook to the body. So Medina comes on even stronger in round 6, and I'm like, oh no, this is looking like MacBride's going to get stopped here. And then, let's see, amazingly, I rolled elusive again, second time in this fight, and probably only the 3rd or 4th time in his entire career that he's gone elusive, and here it works a little better. So he kind of foils Medina's inside tactics, and is able to win from the outside, catch him coming in, and hits him with hook after hook, one of them really hard, and gets the edge in that round 6-4. And then comes round 8. So, I roll for elusive, just like I do with pressure, to see if it could be maintained. It was not. MacBride goes inside. Medina, having lost the round, rolls, and he goes pressure. So now it's a full-on brawl in round 8, and Medina pays the price. So right at the beginning, first segment of round 8, MacBride's clean right connects. Medina just is shuttered down to his foundation and hits the mat unexpectedly with a chin of 8. It wasn't very likely to happen. And so that was the moment that's like, yes, we can turn this around. Of course, Medina gets up. MacBride rocks him with a stunning combination, then a 2-point punch, then maintains control because of the stun for another segment, and then scores a good, hard 2-point hook. He's just dominating here in the first half of round 8, and Medina comes on with a 2-point double hook, shows some real grit, but MacBride's like, nope, and drills him to the body, hook to the body, combination to the body. These are hard punches, and wins that round 19-2. And Medina's tough, though. And I'm like, well, we had a big round, but one big round is probably not going to be enough to steal this fight away from Medina. And I'm still concerned, that we're just that 1 cut point away from being stopped with that right eye being damaged. Then comes round 9. So I rolled to see if... no, I didn't roll. So I just decided. Yeah, so I used my override here to say, okay, Medina is starting to wear down. He's into level 2 fatigue, and MacBride has this this knockdown that Medina is still recovering from. And so I used my override to put MacBride into pressure mode for only the second time in this fight in round 9, as we feel like Medina is on the ropes. It's like, we don't want to go to the scorecards. Let's just go for it. And it worked out beautifully in the second segment of round 9. Huge combination. Amazingly, Medina goes down. The willpower check, I think I rolled a 4 or 5 on it. Medina fails to get back up, and it is a straight knockout, 37 seconds into round 9. And this guy who's never been stopped gets leveled in front of his hometown fans. It was amazing. So this kind of drama is what keeps you coming back to these sorts of games. So it was fantastic. And MacBride has now made a statement against a very respectable Continental opponent with a KO in the 9th round. And that puts his reputation up to 68 points as we enter 1959. And we're just one more victory away from challenging for a Continental title. All right? Wow. So that was a lot. And maybe I'll go ahead and roll video on... No, not the next fight. I'll go ahead and roll the next fight, and then the fight after that, if it's a Continental title challenge, that'll be the next video.